venture to say. But I will say this. I've been having fun with YouTube's Dream Screen. Now, Dream Screen has been out there for a year or so, but they just recently updated it to do AI on images. And I don't think everybody has that option. I don't know too much about that. And I don't know how you get that option if you want it. But the past few days, I've been playing with that. And of course, I hit glitches, but I'm learning. And I just threw an email back to the person who's helping me with my membership area. And he's kind of somebody you can contact for when you need some questions answered. But I'm anticipating that my question is going to say, no, Meri, we can't do that. I have a few issues with the things that YouTube can't do. I just wish that, they would tell us to us ahead of time, that so we wouldn't fool around trying to get it done thinking we're doing something wrong when YouTube can't do it. But anyway, I've been having fun with it. It amazes me. And I've come to the conclusion at my very early learning curve. I mean, here's AI is, to be an expert, you probably have to be 8 feet high, and I'm down here in 6 feet under. But I'm learning, and I'm learning using YouTube's Dream Screen. I did go out there and see what AIs I can use on the mobile, because I'm using it on my phone. I'm not using it on my desktop. And so that means that, there's limitations there too, probably. But I've had some fun things, and it amazes me what it can do. But there's some things that I wish it could do that I haven't been able to make it do yet. I will tell you, I'm going to put it up eventually here. The little Ruby Rose story? The little Ruby Rose when Bandit went to, Ruby Rose bribed the cricket to go out. I did this a couple years ago, the little Ruby Rose story, where she bribes the cricket. Gnomes use a cricket for their door alarm. And gnomes sleep during the day. And I decided at 1 o'clock this morning, 2 o'clock, when I was still I was working with this AI, I said, I must have some gnome blood in me somehow, because they work at night and sleep during the day. And I've got that big gnome book, and I read that in that big gnome book, and I'm going, I'll bet you I've got some fib diggity gnome blood in me, because here I am at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, still awake, still working on my stuff. And but anyway, Ruby Rose's parents or grandparents, the family's asleep during the day, but Ruby Rose, she's she's up and at 'em. And so in order to get out the gnome home and not cause the cricket alarm to go off, she bribes the cricket with a piece of gingham cloth. And I made it red gingham cloth. And I was able to generate that picture. And then the story goes, and I'm just retelling the story because I've told it before on this channel a couple years ago. The story goes that Ruby Rose goes out urban sketching, and she's sitting under a tree doing her urban sketching. Well, gnomes are known for not liking polecats, because polecats are known for eating and damaging little people, little gnomes and other creatures. And so gnomes generally don't like polecats, but that doesn't include kitty cats. If you see a polecat, they're a different animal. And so I had this polecat creeping up. The story goes that the polecat, while Ruby Rose is, let's say this is Ruby Rose, and she's happily sketching, well, back behind her comes this polecat. Well, in the meantime, while Ruby Rose was bribing the cricket, little Bandit got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and ran off to the woods. I'm calling them the Fib Diggity Forest now. ran off to the Fibdiggity Forest, and he climbed the tree, and he happened to be up in the tree where Ruby Rose was urban sketching, and he saw this polecat creeping up, was going to pounce on her, and he jumps out, and he jumps on the polecat, and scares the polecat, you know, have a cat fight, and the polecat runs away. And then Ruby Rose and Bandit is the name of the little black cat in Fibdiggity, at the Meri Atelier. That's a whole nother story. But they become friends, and they play with all the other forest animals for the rest of the day. And then I show where Ruby Rose goes back home and opens the little gnome home door and goes in. Well, when I was doing this with the AI generator, she would go in, and I would say, go in and shut the door behind you. And that was what I was telling it to do. Well, she went in, the door closed, and then she hurried back out again. And I'm going, no, you're supposed to stay in there. And I even typed it, and stay in there. But every time I generated it, she would run back out. So finally I gave up. There must be some word that I need to tell it to, she can't come back out again. And I had a lot of fun doing this. And once you get started on it, it's just really fun. So I ended up, after the door closes, I trimmed that part of the video. It generates a video, a short. And I trimmed it off. So there's no way she's getting back out because it ends. I was laughing about it. I found that funny. And then that's kind of the end of her participation in this little scene. And then I show Bandit while she's doing all that. He's up in the tree, and he leaps down to the tree, and then he scampers back to Fibdiggity. So I'm trying to generate that whole scene with AI, and it's doing an amazing job. I mean, it's just doing an amazing job, better than what I probably expected, with a few little idiosyncrasies here and there that I haven't, either because I'm still learning and I don't know all the tricks, or it can't be done. I'm feeding it probably close to 12 scripts to the AI generator, and I'm generating them separately, and then I want to combine them all into a short, and they're just 6-second scripts. So you guys, if you ever get access to, I think you might have access to Dream Screen, you may or may not have access to the AI generator. So I don't know who does and who doesn't. It's kind of like the community tab that they're building, the community area. They've changed all of our original community tab. They changed it to posts. And that's where I can post something as a host, but you can't post anything. But on this new area, you're supposed to be able to post something and within the community guidelines, and it gives me the ability to moderate it and all of that. I don't have access to that. They release these things to a small community of creators, of YouTubers who generate content, and you either get access or you don't. And some things I get access to, and some things I don't. But I'm really having fun with this AI generator. I think that there are probably more sophisticated AI generators out there, but I'm happy with what I have. This is a good learning tool, especially if you don't know anything about AI. It's a good way to get your foot in the door, to understand what AI does and doesn't do. And it's a tool. It's a nice tool. And that's all it is to me, as a tool. I don't think it's going to take the place of an artist's skill. If anything, it's going to, I have found just writing these scripts, I can just yak on about this. Writing these scripts to generate these little scenes that I've just described to you, it makes you think. of like Ruby Rose. Does she have brown hair or blonde hair? Is her hair in a braid and long, or is it short and blonde? Does she have blue eyes? From one scene to the other, is her dress changing colors? You know, and and sometimes the generator will generate things that you didn't tell it to do. Like, I wanted one bandit up in the tree, one black cat named Bandit. Well, I'm calling him Bandit. The generator doesn't know that. But that one black cat in the tree all of a sudden became 5 black cats. And I'm going, I didn't ask for 5. And so sometimes if you just regenerate it, it works itself out. But it's been fun to play with it. But it's also taken a little bit of time. But when I get it to a point to where I can upload it, I'm going to upload it so you guys can see it. And it'll be a very elementary scene. It won't be anything like what you would see on television or in the movies or anything like that. It'll just be me playing with the AI and generating a little story. But if anything, what it'll do with the artist is makes you think. It makes you think of, like you would think if you were painting. Like if you're painting trees in a forest. Do you want an oak tree or a pine tree? And if you have an oak tree, how tall do you want it? You have to tell, if you want your cat to be black, tell it that it's a black cat. They made the cricket brown. And I didn't want a brown cricket. I wanted a huge. And I had to laugh because I wrote a big cricket in my first script, and it turned out to be a medium-sized cricket, and it was brown. And I'm going, no, it's huge, and I capitalized huge, and that cricket came back huge. I had to laugh. I'm going, okay, it understands emphasis. So I am having fun with it, but that's beside the point. I'm just telling you what I've been doing the last. Well, I've been doing other things too, but what I did last night. All right, let me go back to the bottom of the chat here. I'm all in my... Hi, Diane. You didn't ask for her to have 7 fingers. What did you say? Mary, go look at Dan the Creator's vid on AI when you get time. Dan the Creators, is that the name of his channel? Dan the Creators? Dan the Creator? I will. I know that there, and I did Google it, that there are other AI generators that are mobile. I think Google's Gemini is one. I haven't played with it. I don't know what it does and doesn't do. And then they named a whole bunch of others. But I'm going to use the one that YouTube is giving me access to, because especially if I want to generate content on YouTube, I want it to be like, one thing I do like about this, if I put something in there that generates content that is against YouTube's policy, they won't generate it. I think that's a really good idea. They'll just say, we can't do that. Try again with something else. Dan the Creator. You can use invites on YouTube. What are you talking about? You can use invites. Let me go up. That's what Angie. But it isn't free. You can use invites on YouTube. In video on YouTube. In video, but it isn't free. Well, now if it isn't too expensive, I don't mind. I don't mind. I want to learn, and I've just learned a ton. Just of me telling you this here, I've learned a ton. And I think if there's one thing for artists, and Dee Dee, I thought of you several times because you have those lists, and you say, take something from this list, and 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 put them together with your art and tell a story. Well, you could do that with your AI generator, like, and I saw an example where that was done, like take a crocodile and put a rose on his nose, or something like that, and put him in the bathtub, just something silly like that, and you can generate that and put it in the little creator part of the dream screen, and it'll generate it for you. And then you fiddle around with making the description more what you want. Watch Dan the creator's vid. Okay, Dee Dee, I will. Yeah, I think that this is going to be a good thing for most of us, especially if we want to get our feet wet with AI. I to never think I'm going to be an AI expert. That's not my goal. My goal is to learn enough to do fun things on YouTube, like tell my little Ruby Rose story. And what I thought I would do, because in past videos where I drew this all out in my book, and I made rough sketches, and I made a final drawing where Bandit was jumping down on the polecat. And that's actually in one of my old art journals. I don't know which one. But I thought I would try to find it, and then I'm going to put it in a short, because shorts can be 3 minutes now. Of those 12 6-minute clips, and I've clipped off some of the clips, like I clipped off that where I was telling you she came back out. I closed the door so she couldn't get back out. I cut off maybe about 2 seconds of the clip. So, but let's just take 12 scripts at 6 seconds apiece. That's 72 seconds. And that leaves me, if I'm able to stitch this all together, that leaves me, well, 72 seconds is what, 1 minute and 12 seconds? That leaves me another minute and, what, 50 some seconds, maybe 48 seconds or so, to say, here's where I did it in my sketchbook, and here's what the AI generator did with the same story. And I'll probably have to do another, because I'm going to do 3 minutes, and it won't be a short anymore. It'll become a 8-minute video. After 3 minutes, it's no longer a short. But and then I think you have to go live for 8 minutes before you get paid any compensation with monetization. So if I go past 3 minutes, I'll probably make it a 10-minute video, but it'll be in vertical format. But I'd like to tell the story, get it down enough to where I'm not stumbling over my words like I am now, and just tell the story. The one thing that kind of concerns me about doing the Ruby Rose, as I told you about the little, I named the scene Ruby Rose and Bandit Become Friends is what I'm calling the video, the title of the video. But I'm kind of concerned about COPPA laws, because in my heart of hearts, this is not written for kids. I have no children that watch if you could look at my computer analytics, there's very few, maybe 1 or 2 people over the age of 20 that watch my stream. And, I just want to tell YouTube that, even though, like I could be considered, I'm 65 plus, so I'm a senior, but even seniors, that doesn't mean we don't have children in our life, And, but I'm kind of concerned that YouTube will flag it as a children's video. And I'm going to talk that out with YouTube too before I lose. So far, probably because it's hidden in a live stream, the story that I've told and put it in my art journal, it hasn't caused a problem. But if I make a separate little video, a separate little story out of it, they might consider it a children's video. And it's not really meant as a children's video. It's meant as a story for grandparents to tell their children, their grandchildren. So maybe just a little scene in our fictional fib-diggity town. So I'm kind of concerned about that, but I'm going to take it a step at a time. You just have to click not made for children. And I do that. I have that. I do have that clicked on all my videos. I have that option in the upload defaults. And the other thing I don't like about those upload defaults is you used to be able to click do not embed. Embedding a video is when you give permission to people to take a link of your video and then put it into their own, embed it into their own stuff. And I don't like that because I don't have control over where my videos go. And there's a whole nother story with that I won't even get into. But I had that as an upload default. But since they've messed with things here recently, I've noticed that that option has been changed from defaulting to do not embed, and they just uncheck it so anybody could grab it. So every time after I upload my video, you know, like tonight, my live stream, and I put my new thumbnail in there and get it all ready to leave it alone for the next year or two, I always go out to and I don't have that access on mobile to check it again and say do not embed. So I have to go out to my browser, to my Creator Studio on my browser, which is really hard to read on the phone because you only see that much of that. And you have to scroll down and find the option and click it again on every stream and every video that you put up. And they don't listen to me. I could tell them that that's a pain in the head. You know, they took that default away from us. I don't know if they did that intentionally or if it just happened, but all my videos are made not for children, Diane says, because I have no filter. Yeah, well, I think that, truthfully, I think if I can point to my analytics and say there are no children come to my channel, my analytics show the age range of who watches your videos, and there's nobody under the age of 20. I mean, it's 0 from 20 down. And I'm going, then not a problem. But I still kind of worry that YouTube will catch it, and because they do all that stuff automatically behind the scenes. And if they think it looks enough like a children's story, they might say, this is a children's video. You can't monetize it. So I don't know. We'll see. I do have, it's not made for children, but if they think it's made for children, what you say doesn't make a difference. Mary, there is me. How old are you, Angie? Are you under 20? Are you 20 and younger? Are you under 20, Angie? If you are, you're not being caught in the computer, the analytics. Well, see, you're above where my community is. You're in my community, 20 onward, you know, and I have most of my viewers are 50 plus, age 50 plus, which is okay with me. I'm fine with that, because to tell you the honest truth, I can relate to you guys more than I probably could the younger set. Although I think it would be fun to have some younger people, some teenagers in the crowd too. And at one point I was thinking, what can I do to attract the younger set? But then I'm going, no, I'm going to be happy with who I am and what I am. So on your account, when you set up, Debbie says, let's see, what is she saying? Debbie says, umbrellas are hilarious too. The handles often go under the chin and then through to the top. That's fine, Jen. It was for a cat journal project using the same 3 cats throughout the year. I found a workaround eventually. All my videos are okay. Debbie says, I was trying for a yellow polka dotted bikini on a cartoon cat. Let's see. Oh, Brenda says, I've been fielding phone calls for drivers to get us to Vanderbilt on Thursday. If I fully trusted my truck, I'd just drive. Yeah, I do click that, Dee Dee. Let's see, Crouching Jen says, if you really want Debbie, you can draw it or just take me some time because I'd have to draw it out too. They're talking about something or other. Diane says, same when I tried to get a bath for, a butt for Lindy? What? A butt for Lindy? I don't know what you're talking about. Debbie says, I was trying to get a cat in a bikini and it failed against policy. It doesn't like swimsuits or bikinis. Well, you know, too, when I first did my script, I said, I referenced a lady for something. Oh, I did another script, but I'm not going to go through all that because that's a whole nother story and I want to move on. But I referenced a lady and he didn't like a lady. When I took that word lady out of my script, it did it just fine. So I don't know if it was what I was saying. I was referencing kind of a description of an old lady with gray hair, with wearing rimless eyeglasses and gray hair piled on top of her head. And guess who that would have been? And it didn't like the older lady. I think I said a woman. I can't remember. But for some reason, it didn't like it. And I do like, though, when YouTube doesn't like something, I trust them that there's a reason that they don't like it. And when they say, go try something else, I'll just go try something else. And if I try hard enough, I eventually get what I want. All right. Well, enough of that. I was having a good time this weekend playing with AI at a very, very elementary. Probably kids understand it more than I do. All those 20 and younger. I want to talk about workbooks tonight. And I've been wanting to do this series for a long time, and I just thought this weekend, I said, I'm going to start it. And when I talk about a workbook, I have made some notes here, and we'll go through those. But last November, December, I was playing with Coptic stitching, and I put this together, and this is, I want to write a journal. This is a workbook for my final written journal. This is a workbook that I can scribble in. And I made a list of 100 of my lifetime holiday memories. And then I've got them all here. They mean something to me. I'm not going to read them, but there's, I think I have 9, I'm up to 90, well, this is a page number that they go on, but I have 99 of them. Where are they? Right here, 90, 99, but I think one of them got, I think 45 or something got crossed out because it duplicated another one. And I just scribble in this journal. And this is what got me thinking about doing workbooks. Like here I've started, I scratched my notes in first. You can see where I was just putting down my thoughts about this. This is about sparkle paints. One of my childhood game gifts that I wanted really bad was sparkle paints, which was watercolor, a little watercolor water, probably less than an ounce, with glitter in it, maybe a little bit of glycerin to make it stick or something. Probably didn't stick at all. And but I wanted those so bad, and I got them. I got them for Christmas, and I wrote my memories of that. Now, I must have been maybe about in 3rd or 4th grade when I wanted those, maybe 2nd grade. And then, after all my scribbling, I rewrote it in here, and I'm still trying to edit it down a little. But I've done that for several of my memories. These are still ones that I'm scribbling on. And these are ones that I haven't done yet, I haven't written on. But I have the list, and I have a list of what memory it is. Like this is memory 18 here. Like this is memory 17 here. And the numbers don't mean anything other than that's what they are in my book, in my workbook. I'm calling this, really, I'm just calling it a workbook for my holiday memories. But I was thinking, and here's where I want to just kind of start this stream. I was thinking about workbooks in general. What is a workbook? And if you go look it up, just go Google it. Let's do that right now so that my paraphrasing would be halfway correct. If you go look up the definition of a workbook, that's what we're going to do here. And I've got an ad on hearing. Let's start a new tab. And I'm just going to type in workbook definition. Of course, now it'll talk about, what is it? Excel and Word and that have their own workbook. I got workbook. Workbook definition. And just follow my thoughts here. Okay, this is a dictionary from Oxford Languages. A student's book containing instructions and exercises relating to a particular subject. And then in computing, it's a single file, you know, it gives something to do with computing and workbooks. And what is the meaning of workbooks? It's kind of fun just to, I mean, we know generally, if you think of when you were in grade school, did you have workbooks? I did, where you would go in and do your arithmetic problems and maybe your English problems, and you would fill in, you know, the noun or the verb, or, you know, complete a sentence, that type of thing. Draw a picture or read this arithmetic story problem and fill in the answer. So a workbook is a noun, a book of problems or practice examples for a student to use as part of a course of study. Well, now they're relating to grade school. What is the meaning of activity workbook? An activity book is a type of book generally aimed at children. I guess I'm a child at heart, which contains interactive content such as games and puzzles and quizzes and pictures to color and other elements. So in my heart, I'm going, well, you know, you can do that for adults too. But I'm not going to go there. I'm just saying that. What is considered a workbook? A workbook, now it's talking about a spreadsheet program in Excel. I'm not going to read that. You can if you want. What is the difference between a workbook and a textbook? A workbook usually covers important concepts and tasks related to syllabuses. Workbooks are used for solving extra problems and concepts which the students have already studied from the textbook. Workbooks are often used in schools for younger children, either in middle school or elementary school. Well, I think that we can do better with that for us with workbooks, to tell you the truth, because I consider this a workbook. This is helping me put together my and finalize my thoughts for my art journal, which will become my 100 holiday memories. And it for me, it's a way to organize my thoughts and put my stories, scribble them out and edit them all on paper before I do the final journal. This is not the final journal. Here I've even went in and for November on my Memory 15, I did the November thank you list, and I even wrote out all my thank yous for this year in there. So, you know, a workbook can kind of be for us what we want to make it. And here I said make playlist, but I have to be honest with you, and I'm thinking of a playlist of how other channels have handled workbooks, but I have to be honest with you, I hit a lot of computer stuff, a lot of Excel, and there's some other stuff out there that really doesn't relate to what I'm thinking. And here I wrote define, so I want to start a good page. This is just my scratchy notes. A good page where I put in a definition of workbook like what I just read to you. Here I have group list, and that's what I want to do tonight, but we'll come back to that, and I'll explain that more. This kind of goes along with Dee Dee's Society of Idea Collectors, but we're not collecting ideas here. We're working on a particular subject. We're developing this subject. We're creating exercises. We're doing things like what I've done in here with writing down my memories. We could, well, and I'll get to one of the things we could do. We could do an art project and have all the different areas that we wanted to do for that art project in here, and I'll come back to that, but I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on that. So the other thing I wanted to emphasize is it's not a Society of Idea Collector book. It's a workbook. It's an area where you take a topic that you're interested in or a project you're working on, and you gather all of this information and work through it, and then develop. And I kind of want to, you put things down on paper, but I don't want you to think that it's excluding what you do almost intuitively while you're working on a project. There's intuitive process too. I know Becky has many times said that she doesn't care to mind map because she likes to just get in there and work. And I call that intuitive, but your intuition is really, I don't think you realize how your mind is really mind mapping your intuition. I think you're mind mapping, but you're doing it intuitively. That's just my opinion. But I want to talk about ways to build a workbook, and this is where I brought in things here. Like, you could make a workbook like this, and we kind of talked about how these pages they're stable in here, and I have to bop around from my list here to there, and I have an index, and I have them numbered, and I have what memory is here and what position it is on my list, and when I wrote it, and all that type, and when I edit it. Here's one that I wrote, and then I'm in the process of my sparkle paint one of editing it. This to me is a workbook, but it's also a bound, and it's bound because I was playing with Coptic stitching. But you could also, we're on this ways to build it, ways to make it. You could take something as simple as a composition book, and this is the one I found on the fly, which has some painted pages in it, but I'm going to take those out. Well, in fact, I think I took most of my pages out. And you could get a composition book. I'm going to take these painted pages out because I don't want them as a part of my, I have a signature, it looks like out. Oh, I see, I didn't rip all the page, I want to rip the stitching out here. I'll do that offline. But in your workbook, in order to make it movable, the page is movable, you could unbind it. And the only thing, if you do that, and I'll probably get rid of this plastic. I don't like these plastic covers. They annoy me. But if you do that, just remember, if you bind it back in, this is going to be in the back and this is going to be in the front. So you could just do if you wanted to do it after you get all your workbook done, which is going to be dependent on your project. Is it an ongoing project where it never has an end? Or is it a project that has an end where you can finally close out your workbook? And if it was a project that you could finally close out, I would probably take these pages and bind them separately and have them something like this, but I'd have them organized in such a way that my pages would be, if I'm talking about something here and it goes through 4 pages, this would be 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 4 page, and then I'd start my 5th page over here, rather than if I would bind it like this, you would have 1 and 2, page 1, page 2. Let's say that this is a page, not a signature. This would be page 3, and your page 4 would be way over here. So when you're putting this stuff together, depending on what you're using, which is your choice, you have to be aware of when you're starting it and when you're writing it, when you're binding it and put it together, how it's going to end up in the end. You have to think those things through. Another thing you can do is the 3-ring binder style, like Dee Dee does. So just take your 1 sheet of paper. I'll take this ledger paper, and let's just say this is a 8.5 by 11. It has, a binder that this fits, and then you could move your pages around, and it could still be a workbook, or you could have a spiral bound book and make tabs. For mine, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it, this I might as well show this to you. This is my tatting design journal, and so far I haven't gone very far in it, and it's really where I'm just jotting notes as I go. I'm not really doing a workbook style, but I think I would like to take this and convert it into a workbook style. And I would probably take these and put them as I'm designing a bee, if you want to know. I want to make a tatted bee, and this is my this is my reference photo that I'm using. So it's something that I'm playing with over the last couple years, but I would like to do a tatted workbook. And I just grabbed these ledger papers as I was coming in here. I might work those into my journal. But what I want to do tonight, after I've chatted on about that, is as a group list, what I want to do, and I'm going to use this paper, and I haven't decided whether I want to fold this in half. I bought 2 more reams of this Colors of the World paper because we did a list. We did a list in one of my more recent streams, and I used this marker. And look on where I made notes here, how it soaked through this copy paper. This pen does not soak through this Colors of the World. It's Crayola's Colors of the World premium paper. And I don't know if you can just get plain white premium paper. I'm going to look it up. And if I can, I'm going to order more of it because I really like this paper for using these pens, especially when I'm doing a group list or something. And I think what I'll do, it full page. And I think I'll make my journal full page, and in the end, I'll either Coptic stitch them or put them in a binder. But what we're going to do is kind of a workbook for a workbook. And what I want to do tonight is do a group list. So for those of you that are out there intently listening, I want to, let's date this, February 23rd. And I like to do these bold pens because you guys can read it. And this will be a group list. I'm going to call it a group list because when I do lists in my stream like this and I get your participation, I don't like taking total credit for it because you guys have so many great ideas. So I call my lists group lists when I'm doing a list. And what this is, what I want to do is a list of different kinds of workbooks. And I'll give a couple examples so you can see what I'm different kinds of workbooks. And as you think through this, I want you to think what your personal interests are. You might have an idea for a work, like Becky might say, well, I want a workbook for designing a sewing pattern, or I want a workbook for altering a dress, or altering clothes that I get at the thrift store to fit me. I know not too long ago she was altering a dress, and she was figuring out how deep or where she wanted that dart that was going in there, or if she even wanted a dart. So your kind of workbook that you have, if you do one, is going to be according to your interest. But I'm going to make a whole list of different types of workbooks, different kinds of workbooks, and I'll do some that I thought of so that you can and these will generally go off of my lists, which I'm going to have trouble reading because my paper's soaked through. Where is it? Where did I write them? I think I wrote them here, but I can't read them. Where are they? Did I write them on another paper? No, I didn't. Come on, Mary. Boy, I cannot read those. I know I did them separately. Are they over here? See, this is why I want this paper. I can't see where I made my list. Boy, it's all backwards. This is something else. Well, let's just put down the different kind. So I'm just going to make up some here because they'll be, I like storytelling. I could have a workbook that would be on the topic of storytelling. Now, this is not a mind map. It's a workbook that I want to build. Like, you could put a mind map in there. You could mind map it. But I would put in some, I'd ask myself some questions like, what are good examples of storytelling? So, and instead of putting that as a question, I would write or find 5 examples of good storytelling. Find 5 examples. That's an F, number. 5 examples, and I put of good storytelling. I want to say elements, but 5 examples of good storytelling. Like, you kind of want, well, it depends on whether it's verbal, if you're just making it up on the fly, if you thought it through, but you want to do something. One example would be you want your story to be interesting. You don't want to just chatter away like I am right now. So this would be something that I would probably do research on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not even going to attempt to fill these in right now. But this would be an exercise. So I'm just going to put here exercise. Another one would be come up with 5 interesting plots. You get the idea. Storytelling plots. And a lot of this I would gather as I'm filling in my workbook, as I'm creating my workbook. I would probably find more things to put in here. I'm just going to do these 2 for now, because I want you to see, or you could say, what makes a good story? What makes a good story? What makes a good, or in parentheses, or bad story? Give examples. So these are kind of exercises that I would probably want to put in a storytelling workbook. But there's a whole lot more. But this is just kind of making a list. Another one of my interests is slow stitching. And I'm not going to go into all the examples or anything. I'm just going to list, because the list is different kinds of workbooks. I could have a workbook for slow stitching. What fabrics work best? K3N talks about that. What fabrics, what dyes work the best? What stitches do you like? Give examples of the stitches, put samples in there. So slow stitch would be an example that I would pick personally. Something that I probably would not pick, but it's in my head right now. Would you have a science workbook? And you could have experiments, the results. What do you need to make this experiment? Define the experiment. What's supposed to happen? Did it happen or did it fail? Another workbook would be, and the one that I want to do tonight, I'm kind of just chattering away here. The one that I want to do tonight, I want to do a workbook, and I'm going to put a star by this. Oh, and another thing I want to do here, let me do this while I'm thinking about it. Because I'm going to put this in a 3-ring binder, I want to leave, let's say, a 1/2 inch over here. Let me get this down. Let me draw a 1/2 inch line here. And I'll just draw it because this is going to go in my workbook. And this could be ongoing, or I could bind it and have, you could also have, what do you call that, flow journaling, where you just put your, but I'm going to design this right now in case I want to put it in a 3-ring binder. I may not want to do that, or if I do it, I'll probably put it in a thin one, because I don't want this to go on forever. It could probably go on forever. A science workbook. And what I want to do for our examples, it's only 7 o'clock here, 7:09. I want to do a workbook, and it's going to be a project-based workbook. And it's going to be, we're going to design, our project is going to be to design a mural, M-U-R-A-L, for the back of the Meri Atelier building in Fib Diggity. So we're going to do a workbook centered on this project. And we may not do it tonight, but we'll talk about it. So that's one I want to do here, maybe in the next week or so. Another workbook that you could have, well, of course, would be math. I'm not that interested in math, but some of you might be. Math. You could do a workbook on the color wheel or the color mixing. You could do a color mixing workbook. You could come up with all sorts of swatches and tests with different types of media. What colors make good reds and what colors, well, red is what colors makes good greens and of deco art paint. Well, how do you get black? How do you get mud? How do you get gray? That could all be in a workbook. Another one would be, I wish I found I'll find it after. I never find this stuff when I'm online. Because I had a whole list. And now it just looks like scribble to me. I have things I want to put in a workbook. Well, I guess I'm going to ask you guys at this point, what do you think, based on your interests, would make a good workbook? Let's see if I'm missing anything out there. Mary, let's see. What? I will have to make a list of what I get to make my books. I'm not what... Hi, Vanessa. I will have to make a list of what to get to make my books. Oh, well, that's a good one, actually, Vanessa, because you could have a workbook for bookbinding or creating books. I'm going to put bookbinding here, but I'm going to put / creating journals, because that would be something that we would, and that would include maybe a sub-chapter or a subsection here of different ways to bind our journals, where I kind of talked about we could do it in a composition book, we could make an art journal, we could make a writing journal, we can alter a book, and how do you want to alter that book, what kinds of paper do you want to put into it. So that whole project goes down its own little path, and you could have formal exercises in there, but you could also do something like I do. You could have a section here for just notes and thoughts. But here again, I want to say this is not an idea collector. This is project related. If you have notes here, you might just put a note on of, oh yeah, I want to remember that when I'm doing bookbinding, to go look for my wax thread. I mean, that's just an example of something new. And I will do that with my tatting a lot. When I'm listening to tatting videos, I'm going to scribble on this. When I'm making notes, when I'm listening to tatting videos, and let's just say that they are using a size 10 pink thread for a Valentine, I'll write down, get size number 10 pink thread. And then I'll put a note there, and then when I finally get it, I'll check it off. If it's not checked, I still need to go buy it. So this kind of notes that, a reminder notes, maybe a reminder of something related to that you don't want to forget. It's not collecting ideas per se. You can collect ideas in it, but I want to keep it separate from a Society of Idea Collector, because I think that's a whole different topic. This is more zeroing in on a particular interest. Let's see, I was reading notes. Mary, why aren't you just making tabs? I am making tabs, Dee Dee. I made a whole bunch of tabs for my Society of Idea Collectors. I'm using some parchment paper, kind of cardstock, and I punched out a whole bunch of tabs one day, and I just have to put them together. I haven't got to it yet. I have a whole list. I think I have close to 32 topics in my Society of Idea Collector. This is not going to happen for me right away. It's going to happen to it as I get to it. But that's why I am doing it. What did Brenda say? There are neighbors he has helped who offered to help him. He hates asking for help. I had a secret weapon. Scold him. Our daughter, the nurse. Oh, your daughter scolds him, huh? Let's see. Goldie, I might as well be speaking Chinese to him, Brenda says. She says the same thing because she has some fancy papers and frames. He listens to her. Huh. A garden one. There, Becky is. That's a good one, Becky. A garden workbook. A garden workbook. And in your garden workbook, you could put in things like, oh, you guys, I saw this really neat video. And if I was making a garden workbook, I would say, I saw this really neat video today, and I would note the channel and the name of the video and that. I probably wouldn't put in the link because I'd have to type it all in anyway. But the video is taking a clear plastic tub, and they're not planting in the tub. She converted it into a greenhouse where she took her planters. Let's say this is a planter. She took her plastic tub, and she took the lid off of the tub, and she cut out the inside and just left it, you know how the tub lid has a little rim? She left that rim so the rim will still snap on there. She cut the inside part out of the rim, and then she cut it into strips, that inside part. She left the rim to snap down on there. Then I think she had 2, 4, 6. I think she cut 8 1-inch strips out of the inside part here that she cut off, and she stapled 2 together, 2 together, and 2 together. So she had 2, 4, 6 of these pieces that she cut out, stapled together. Then she on her lid, and she said she just used a paper stapler. She stapled those. If I can find a sheet of paper here. Let me get one over here. Let's just pretend that this is one of the strips, and it's plastic. She stapled it onto the rim of the lid, and she brought it around and stapled it on to the other side of the rim. And she did that 3 times. And then she took the other 2 pieces that she had left, and she had her hoops across there made out of that plastic from the lid, and she hooked those 3 together horizontally this way on each side. Then she used tulle, fabric tulle, and I saw pearl. I said, oh, I should have grabbed it. Fabric tulle, she got a whole yardage of fabric tulle, and she put that around this hoop that she made. And then she snapped the hoop and with the lid, and with the tulle covered on that, snapped it onto the bottom of the plastic tub. And that made her little greenhouse, or in this case, she just called it a grow box. She said if you wanted to make a greenhouse, you could use plastic instead of tulle, and that would help keep the heat in. And if you wanted to take that off, you just have to unsnap the lid. But she didn't put dirt in the container. She put little flower pots, that little seedling pots that she wanted to use as a grow box. She put those in there. And she said the advantage of doing that, and she gave the measurements, but it was light enough that she could move it around, so she could have it out in the sunshine if she wanted, or if it got too hot. I think she said she was going to grow some lettuce in pots, and she'll probably have a horizontal. And the box itself is thick enough that it could handle a horizontal planter of lettuce. So, and she said that would keep the tulle would keep the bugs out of it, and keep if she was going to do strawberries. And I'm going to try that. I'm going to try it. But see, that's something that you could put in your garden workbook, some project that you want to do. Or maybe you could plan Maybe you could plan out your garden. Where do you want to plant your peas this year? In my case, it's going to be what flowers am I going to plant where? I might try some snap peas, but if I do, I better get them done fast, you know, because you want to do them in spring. So that was a good one, Becky. Garden workbook. Becky says, question mark. Dee Dee says, she is listing everything I have tabs for. I'm lost as why she's saying she's starting all over. I'm not starting all over. I'm not doing this is not collecting ideas. This is working through ideas that you already have. This is not a Society of Idea Collector journal. This is a workbook. Like, this is a workbook, Dee Dee, for my 101 holiday memories, where I listed all my memories, and then I'm going in and I'm writing, doing a workbook series for my memories. Like, I used the sparkle paint one as an example. And in this example, I don't have 10 exercises. My exercise is to write my memory and edit it and get it ready to put in a real journal. But I call this a workbook. So this is not collecting ideas. This is developing my memories and getting them ready for a written journal. And I might put some illustrations in here too. But this is not for. And I could have tabs on this if I wanted. Like, I could say here, I could put a tab here and say group list. This is a workbook for a workbook. We're doing the group list tonight, and we're coming up with things different topics that you might want to have a workbook for. Does that make sense, Debbie? Dee Dee? Let me go down to the bottom. She's laughing. Dee Dee says, or a garden tab. Yeah, you could have a garden tab. You could have a garden tab in your Society of Idea Collector. Sure, you could do that. And you could put, if you wanted to put your plots in there, I mean, I'm not trying to take away from the meaning of a Society of Idea Collector. Like, you could put a list of things that you want to plant in your society and have a garden list and pull from that list and, you know, develop your garden tab there if you want. This is meant to be more of developing your, it's a development project type thing. Especially, well, like, let me get to this, designing a mural. On here, when I said design a mural, I would come up with things like, what things can we put on that mural in Vibdiggity? What paint do we want to use? What do we use if it's a brick wall? What do we use if it's a cement wall? Things like that. That could go in your Society of Idea Collector, but I want it centered more in a workbook. You know, there's more than one way to develop your topics. Becky sent me a book on idea collectors that Arnie and Carlos did. And they were talking about all the different types of journals that they have. And they did it on different types of topics. I think they said they had like 29 separate journals. And this would be kind of workbooks in the same sense of what they did, is what I'm getting for. I will be making everything on my computer. And that's a good point too, Vanessa. You could put all of this. You don't have to put it on paper. I like to put things on paper, mainly because I have it there. But you could put all of this digitally. I know Allie Kay likes to do a lot of digital stuff too. And I do too. I don't like to write out long links in here because the link could change and you'd have to make sure you had all the information straight and then you'd have to retype it. So I will, in here, I will use my notes. It's not really meant to be a workbook, but in here I'll go to my notes tab and I'll set up a folder in here. Like, you could kind of call those workbooks if you wanted, but like, let's see. Well, here's my dream screen scripts, and I'm developing 2 of them. This is the one on Ruby Rose. And these are all my scripts. Now, I like this digitally, which is what Vanessa said, that she would be doing things on her computer. I like it digitally because when I take this little descriptor, and I called this scene 9, I'm down to scene 90 on there. Let's go back up to the intro. Here's the intro. Morning sunrise, a girl gnome child with shoulder-length blonde hair, red gnome hat, and a black cat is at her side. Let me go here and show it to you. I think I downloaded it. I'll show it to you in my content area. Hold on, I want to get there, but I have to type in. I have to get past the privacy part, the private. All right. This is where, on the YouTube creators, this is the mobile version of the YouTube Creator Studio. And here it shows all the videos I have, all the streams, all the live streams that I've published. Well, right here is the shorts. And this is where I'm putting up my test AI screens. After you take that script I was showing you and develop the script, it converts it into a little 6-second clip that goes into a short. And so right here, let me view all. This is a test download here. That's not the one I want to show you. I'd numbered them. Let's go out to 3, 2, let's pick one. I want to show you one. Let's see what this one is doing. Oh, that's slow stitch. That's a published slow stitch short. Ruby Rose goes urban sketching. Now I have another one before that. I have one where she's bribing the cricket, but now she's out here. And let me go to YouTube. Oh, it's private. I'm not in my, let's get into my account. I can't see it from my other account because it's a private video. All right, I should be able to come back here and see it now. Let's go out and look at the script.
Ruby Rose is urban sketching. A polecat sneaks up behind her. Bandit is watching from a tree.
Now there I was talking really fast because I was testing how I could describe that in 6 seconds. I've decided that I'm not going to put voiceover in the clip itself. Let me turn my sound down here so you can see it without my voice. And let me hold it up and replay it. It's only 6 seconds, but you can, when you combine them all, it'll make like a minute video for a short. So here she is. This is what the AI generated. And I think it did a really good job for Ruby Rose. I didn't paint that, but I could take this and save it as a picture and paint it in my art journal if I wanted to. So let me play it here. So here she's urban sketching. There's the polecat sneaking up behind her. And that's just a little 6-second clip. Now the next one in this will be where here's Bandit up in the tree. He doesn't jump down in this clip. He jumps down in the next clip because I couldn't get all this descriptor in one clip. So I developed 12 clips. But I would call this, getting back to my list, I would call this list over here a digital workbook. And you could put this in your Society of Idea Collector if you wanted to. I'm not saying don't. I'm saying that it's zeroing in on a project that I might call AI, digital AI projects. That might be, and I'm going to write that as number 9, because this would be on for something that I'm interested in. So I'm going to put AI projects. And this could be in your Society of the Idea Collector if you wanted it to, but I probably would not, and I'm going to put digital here. I probably would not, I'm not even sure that I would write all this on paper, because I found that as I'm working on my Dream Screen tool, that as I put it in there, I might want to put morning sunrise, dawn sky, or sun just coming up over the horizon, something like that. I might want to edit that script. And so I would rather have it digitally, where it would be easy to do a cut and paste. Here I would have to scribble it out and type it all back in. So I like the idea of doing things digitally too. For me, the Society of Idea Collector is collecting ideas. This is developing your projects or something, an idea into a project, storytelling. You know, I might want to tell 5 different stories here, and I could do it in my Society of Idea Collector, but I would rather have a workbook here. Like if I'm writing a story, let's just say I want to write a story on a polecat in Fibdiggity. I would put, and I'd probably name Paul the Polecat or something like that, and I would develop my story in here. And I would probably scribble in, I would probably make scribbly notes in here. And, you know, I'd probably have 3 or 4 pages of scribbly notes that I go back in and edit and scribble out and research, like, you know, where do polecats generally live? What part of the country can you find them in? Where would they live in Fibdiggity? Why do gnomes not like them? Is Paul the polecat friendly or a mean polecat? You know, just stuff like that would be in my, and I see it as being a larger workbook rather than a chapter or a couple pages in my Society of Idea Collector. I think it's good to have both types of journals. I don't want this, for me personally, you can do whatever you want. I mean, I'm not trying to convince you to do anything. But for me personally, this is a way to take something from my Idea Collector and develop it more. And it gives me space to develop it, whether I'm doing it hard copy or whether I'm doing it digitally. That's what I'm getting at. Becky says, be right back. She's going to shut down the laptop and climb into bed. Be back to talk gibberish on my phone. I love it. I talk gibberish too. So, I'm making a list here of, we got some good ones from you. Let's see, did I miss any? I don't drink. Vale says, Marguerite, are you all good out in British Columbia with the quake? Oh, did they have an earthquake out in Columbia? Dee Dee, have a nightcap, Joyce says. Dee Dee says, that is the last I'm going to say. Society of Idea Collector is project collecting. Well, I think Dee Dee feels like I am trying to take the place of Society of Idea Collecting. I'm not. It is project collecting, and in a sense, I'm collecting information about a specific topic. I'm not trying to have an idea collector's workbook where I'm making a list of people and a list of transportation and a list of, you know, that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is zeroing in on an interest, and I might have examples to work through here. I might develop, so like I said here, or I might have a digital one where I'm typing out scripts, or I might write out a paragraph and edit it, or write out a whole story and edit it. In math, for myself, for math, I can remember when I was younger, I was convinced I could never work a square root. I'd have to go back and work out how to work a square root. But I was finally, when I finally understood square roots and how to arrive at them, and I can't say I'd do it tonight, I'd have to review everything, but I was so proud of myself that I finally understood how to do it. And I learned that through a math workbook that I had purchased when I was still going to school. So I would probably, for math, I would probably put an example. Tell me how to work out square roots. How to diagram a sentence. Now you could put all that in a Society of Idea Collector, but I see it as more zeroing in on it. It is project collecting. But it's project collecting in a separate book, in a separate workbook. It is project collecting, but I've expanded the topic into something like this, into a workbook, that I would not put this whole thing in my Society of Idea Collector. You know, it's where I can scribble. It's where I can draw. This has close to 138 pages. I didn't have to have, just for this project, in my Society of Idea Collectors, I would have to have an extra 138 pages. So I'm not saying don't put it in there. I'm saying make it work for you. I'm not trying to tell you to do it one way or the other. I'm saying this is a way for me to expand maybe an idea that I had jotted down in my Society of Idea Collector. Maybe I went to one of Dee Dee's prompt lists and pulled out 5 examples and came up with a story. And I wanted to develop that story in here. And I might have another workbook where I'm writing an entire story that's going to end up being 135 pages of a story written from those prompts. That, to me, is the difference between a Society of Idea Collector journal, where you're getting all these ideas, but you're pulling an idea out and you're developing it into a workbook, a specific topic. That, for me, is the difference. And you can agree or disagree. It's up to you. I'm not trying to convince you either way. It's up to you.